And there's the notification from Galactic Netcast saying, "Hey, that we're live," which is before the thing on the screen or on the thing popped up saying we're live. So that's interesting. But yeah, let's get started. Hello and welcome to ElseNerds, a production of Galactic Netcast. I'm Gregor Sprague.
And I'm Corey Scott.
For all info on this show, including show notes, subscription links, go to ElseNerds.com. And for other Galactic Netcast programs, go to gncast.com.
On ElseNerds, we tend to say a lot of stuff and say a lot of bad words, but after last week's opening, I'm taking Ritalin, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, last week was something else, which also did make when Dave was critiquing, it made it interesting because I'm like, wait, what was he referring to last week with Corey just absolutely destroying Comic-Con HQ or what?
I don't remember anything. I'm sure I was well behaved.
Yeah, of course. Much like I will be when in a couple weeks when we review 10 Cloverfield Lane over on Podcast with Terror.
Yeah, it's kind of expected that you have to swear out your ass on that one.
So I'm just going to stand up and just do like pull an Ace Ventura and just go, "Hey guys."
Okay.
You said talk out of your ass.
Yeah, but face first.
All right. So how you been, Corey? How's your week been?
I don't know if I'm just old or if there was a bug going around, but I've had a really hard time recovering from my trip the week before last. And so there were days that I would just come home and pass out and then just low energy the whole time. I'm starting to normalize, I think. Had a busy weekend of, well, I mean, not just the weekend, but I watched a lot of things outside of what I normally watch.
Mm-hmm.
And skipping out on stuff that I would usually watch. So I guess that's good. It would be great if we did a show called What Else Is On and maybe got to talk about the different things that we watched during the week, besides just trying to cram in something in the Nerding Out segment. But I guess that's for another time.
Yeah. You just gave me an idea for a discussion topic, but
Okay.
but it might be a time permitting discussion topic. But yeah, this week has been fun, interesting. Speaking of like the What Else Is On, have you been are you up to date with Suits?
No, I haven't watched Suits. I didn't watch last season at all, and so I just finally stopped recording it on the DVR. It's probably something I'll have to go back and catch in Netflix later on.
Yeah, because I missed the second half of last season because you know how they split the season up, but I watched the premiere, and it was when I was like, I'm like because when I was watching like Royal Pains, which I don't think I watched the whole season or series finale on that, not against Royal Pains, it's more against me. But or any other USA show would be like, hey, catch up online for Suits before the season 6 premiere. I watched the season 6 premiere. It's pretty good.
Suits was always good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed the show. It's just TV, man.
It's
a lot.
It's one of those things that this honestly seems like it could have been like a season 3 plot that they stretched out a little bit, because this is what happened after Mike admitted he's not an actual lawyer. He doesn't have a law degree. He doesn't have any of that stuff. So that to me is the interesting thing here, is that it's that it is him admitting he was a fraud.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a corner that the show has been painting itself into for a while. So I guess it's not wrong to assume that they had a plan to get it out.
It sounds like they still do, because it was intriguing this whole time. The first episode was like a direct thing from, sorry, moving computer around for the video watchers, was the like a direct right follow-up from the 5th season finale, which was only like what 3 months ago or something like that. but it picked up and ran sort of with it. Like you're following everyone else outside the firm, or well, in the firm, and then Mike in prison. And I'm just like, this is pretty cool. This is an interesting thing going on here with twists and turns that you might catch, but I didn't when I was watching it.
Yeah, I mean, isn't the guy who plays Mike coming into the next season
Mm-hmm.
of here Legends of Tomorrow?
Yeah, which is an intriguing thing here because I don't know how big his role is going to be over or with either show. You know,
What?
is his role going to die back on Suits?
Well, the thing about Suits is that it's a short season and it normally takes place in the summertime, so it
Well,
could be that it works out perfectly.
summer winter thing
Yeah,
because they split. It's a I want to say it's about 18, like 12 to 18 episodes, but they split them into two groups.
right. And around the time that they'd be taking break from the seasons of whatever regular mainstream shows are, that's what
Mm-hmm.
it does. It tries to catch you when there's not a lot of other things in your PVR or DVR at the time.
Yeah,
So yeah, it could be good, and it allows him to break out of a role that, I mean, I haven't seen him in other stuff
he
since being
was
on the show.
he was in Orphan Black. He had a guest spot with that. He was, I can't think of what her name is, the crazy clone. You know, it looked like she needed to bring a comb through her hair. He was her like boyfriend or whatever. I'm using air quotes around boyfriend, but I mean, it is what, like, he was with her, like her love interest a little bit there. And then he was in a couple other things I can't think of off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I'm enjoying it. You
Yeah.
know, and it's cool. It's like, oh, hey, that's right. I like that show.
It's like an old friend that you put on, like a warm jacket or something you used to
It's
wear when
almost
you were.
like getting a mixtape from like an old girlfriend, or finding the old mixtape from a girlfriend that you had a long time ago and playing it, sort of.
Or like a deep, smooth transition, like a Tom
Exactly.
Merritt-esque podcaster. Nothing more comfortable than that. So moving right along to the else news.
Yes. In the else news, Netflix is letting you make a mixtape. Is the headline I gave it, but they announced Flixtape, a customizable mixtape of your favorite TV shows. I see this as a potential ever growing thing for the ElseNerds, because one of the segments that we've done so infrequently, like it wouldn't even be justified for an occasional show. Returning the plug, I might add. But like just seeing a playlist of everything we've done with I Ain't Got Time to TV.
I ain't got time to TV. Oh, the good
Yeah.
old days.
So just like the pilot and then the series finale of like Star Trek or Breaking Bad or True Blood.
Well,
Sort of
now
deal.
I've been reading through on this, and I watched the little video that they give that kind of explains it, and it didn't sound like that's what it was, something that was able to be done yet. It's more of putting a list together of shows to watch, but not by episode, which I think is a little weird. And I don't know how or why. Like, this is the thing. Conceptually, it's sort of intriguing, but I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to accomplish or what it's needed for. I already have a queue on my Netflix that when I log in, there's the list of movies that I've put into my list to watch, and it's really long, and it's hard to find things that are in there. I have to scroll through 160 movies or TV shows that are in that list to remember, oh yeah, this is the thing that I want to watch next. There's no way to organize it, as far as I know, at least from my Rokus or from the interfaces on my Vizio TVs. So it's already really unruly. I don't know that this is the next step in that, if it improves things, or it's just like this is supposed to be. Dave and I talked a little bit this morning in our Slack, which you guys can go to if you sign up for our newsletter, going to gncast.com/subscribe.
Do
But
it.
we were talking about Netflix and shows that he's lost track of on there. And I said, well, the difference between watching live TV, which is what he's doing again now, he used to be a cord killer, and watching stuff on Roku or these other devices, is that on live TV, you can come home, throw on the TV, and pretty quickly find something. Or you just put on the channel of like, this is a time that Friends reruns are on, and I watch that and it goes straight into Seinfeld and Big Bang Theory. And you can just kind of like let it go on. You don't have to think too hard about it. You don't have to search too hard. The guide is there when you need to, like, oh, well, I'm going to flip over and see what's on HGTV right now. And it's pretty much low thought process. But when you're talking about Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, you kind of have to chase things around, which is one part of it. And the other part is you have to decide what it is you want to watch instead of having it just, you flip it on and it's already actively doing something and it's ready for you. And I still think that's the thing that's missing from the cord cutter point of view. Now, you get a better viewing experience that way because you're actively choosing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of times you're not in the mood to choose. Or like I've said many, many times, I'll spend an hour or 2 hours looking through the Netflix choices or the on-demand choices or any number of things to finally find something. And then it's like, oh, well, now it's time for bed. I can't even play that movie right now. So it's a little tough. And I think that that's the component that Netflix needs. Now, going way, way back in the Wayback podcasting to the Spreecast days of our shows such of old, Glenn Rubenstein used to talk about how he set up his media center through his Xbox, and he had a system that he used on there that would play shows that he had saved and play them like they were their own TV channel. And so the shows would kind of plug into spots, and it would be like you turn it on and it would start playing a show. And if you needed to, you could skip around. But for the most part, it would lay things out like you were watching TV in the 80s on, like, this is what ABC's showing tonight on primetime. And I never got into that. I never tried it out, but it sounded really intriguing because it sounds like it's that missing portion of, what happens next. Now, I think Netflix is moving forward on things. Like now on my Roku 3 compared to my Roku 2, I click on a show on Netflix just to look at the description, and it starts playing it, or it starts playing the movie. It just puts it right up on the screen and starts up, and it lets me back out of it real fast if I don't want to watch it right then. But it's kind of like, hey, you're here, let's just go.
Yeah.
The other thing it does is it starts making recommendations after you watch something of like, if you like this, you might want to check these things out too. That's close, but I think we're just still not quite at the bar. It don't have to be something you can turn on or off depending on how you watch TV or how you watch these services. But we're just to that point of like, if we just get to where I turn it on, it kind of has a Pandora aspect to it of these are the shows that you like to watch. These are the movies that you've enjoyed and you've given ratings to over the years. I'm going to throw on this movie because I think this is what you would want to watch. Or I'm going to throw on this TV series, but because I can tell this is the time of the night where you want to watch a quick program before you go to bed. And it's that interaction thing that it's, I'm going to make some smart decisions for you, and you can override me, but I feel like I know you and your choices enough that this is going to be good. This is going to be what you want instead of making you think about what you want. Because that's where we are. When it comes to entertainment and stuff, there are things that we'll go out and we'll seek and we'll really be like gung-ho, I'm going to go see this movie. I'm actually going to go see it in the theater, or I'm going to buy this DVD, or I'm going to buy this download. But then there's a lot of times where it's just like, I just want to be entertained and shut my mind off. My friend says that all the time. He watches Kardashians and Real World and Jersey Shore stuff, and he's a really smart guy. And I'm like, you watch the dumbest TV I could ever possibly imagine. He's like, yeah, but I just turn it on so I don't have to think right now. So I can shut down my brain after a hard day of work and doing stuff around the house and everything. And it's like, just give me something to look at and drool on myself with. And I get that. I get that feeling. And that's, I think that's a little bit more interesting than the mixtape idea. The mixtape is fun for trying to get someone else into shows you're watching, but I can't say that I'm going to give somebody a list of TV programs and say, hey, watch all of Firefly, and then, because that's only a season, but then watch all of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and hey, when you basically wondered how are you gonna crawl outside and see sunlight ever again, I'd like you to also check out this other thing that's 9 seasons long. It's just,
no. See,
I'm not quite on it.
I think you're missing a point with this. Is if it was like you could rearrange episodes, someone's going to come up with a playlist of Fox fucked up.
Oh yeah,
and it's going to be the broadcast airing of Firefly, the broadcast airing of Almost Human, of Terra Nova, of every sci-fi show that had the potential to be great, but because Fox aired it out of order, it got in other reasons, but it got canceled.
But that at least would be interesting. That would be fun. Or if you're trying to follow a actor, you're like, there's this one guy who shows up in the background of shows all the time, and I'm like, I'm always, who the fuck is that guy?
Steven Tobolowsky.
Yeah, and just here's this episode that he's in, and then here's this episode of this other show, and you're just kind of following him, and you're trying to make a connection. It's like the theory that Dwayne McDuffie, rest in peace, Dwayne, you were awesome. Dwayne McDuffie had that a whole bunch of shows were basically non-existent. Their entire universes were proven not to exist by the last episode of St. Elsewhere. So have you ever heard about this theory?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so the last episode of St. Elsewhere, which was a show in the 80s, had the guy who did the voice of Kit and played Mr. Feeney, had Howie Mandel, Ed Begley Jr., Stephen Furst, I think, was in it. It was a medical drama. And in the last episode, one of the doctors had a son or a grandson who I think basically had autism. Mm-hmm. And the final show, they showed it that the kid is sitting there and he's looking at a snow globe, and inside the snow globe is St. Elsewhere. So it stops with the episode, pans up from St. Elsewhere, shows it snowing, and then shows it's inside the snow globe. So the entire thing has been a figment of this kid's imagination. The problem became certain shows crossed over with St. Elsewhere, and then other shows had crossed over with some of those shows, and it spread out. So like it got to things that were local to it, Hill Street Blues, but then it got to things like All in the Family somehow had some crossover with it. So that means that the Jeffersons and a bunch of other stuff existed in this pretend world by this kid who's been locked up in his room, essentially. And it went on and on and on. So it got further and further. So modern shows today, X-Files and stuff, had crossed over in this thing. So there's a whole list online of all the shows that have proven that none of them are real, like even in the fact that they're TV shows. They're all in the imagination of this little boy. And it's bizarre, but that's the kind of thing that you could follow around. You could say, I want to make a playlist of the episodes that cross over between these different shows, because you're chasing down this kid's visions. And that would be neat. But a flicks tape of, you should watch this program, but the whole goddamn series of it, I don't know how much potential it has at this time to catch on. I think it's something that they'll fine tune.
All I've got to say is you can actually do a search for the St. Elsewhere. Holy crap. The St. Elsewhere theory. And wow.
Yeah.
It was last updated last August. So August of 2015. And this is actually pretty cool to look at if you know what you're looking at.
The unification theory of St. Elsewhere, or what some people call 6 degrees of St. Elsewhere. It's intensely big because these shows keep happening and they keep crossing over. If you get Shonda Rhimes involved, you're fucked.
Wait, hold on. So I'm trying to get the key here. Was Drew Carey's show a spinoff of Coach?
Um, maybe, or
Or
there
do they
may
have
at least have been a crossover between them. The master list, I mean, Angel is on here, Arrow is on here. That means all the Berlantiverse is tied up into this. Going backwards, the Andy Griffith Show is on here. The Americans on FX is on here. This is it's in alphabetical order, and it is a list that just goes on and
The
on.
Walking Dead, Breaking Bad,
Torchwood,
Better Call Saul, which would mean Doctor Who's on here.
right? We've crossed the channel. We've gone Twin Peaks, like every single thing. Two guys and a girl. Nathan Fillion is not safe at all.
Dead Like Me, great show.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of great shows. It's what's interesting is trying to follow the path back to see Community. Of course, is on here. Community would have put itself on this list. They would have done something intentionally to make that happen.
Yeah.
And then you know that means that obviously Cougar Town would be on here.
Mm-hmm.
And Cougar Town being on here means that Scrubs is on here. It's just it's fun to chase things down that rabbit hole. But how far does it go, and how much bigger is it going to continue to get? All the CSIs, because once you introduced, there's a character actor who is on Homicide, that crossed over into X-Files, and they tried using him in everything. He polluted the streams essentially.
Wait, how do they have? Hold on, I'm trying to figure out how they have. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm looking at the picture of it. So
You're looking at the map.
And in there they have I think it's within the Law and Order universe, branching out to The Secret Life of the American Teenager, then Arrow, which goes to The Flash and DC Legends of Tomorrow, but then off of that, Hawaii Five-0. I don't remember there being a Hawaii Five-0 Arrow crossover.
Yeah, that's the question: is how does this stuff happen? That's what I want to see. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy from 1981 is on here. Hogan's Heroes. That's the map I want drawn on Netflix. And it requires Netflix to have all of these shows, all of this programming, which I know is their ultimate goal. Spin City and Sports Night. Sports Night. That means we're probably breaking into all of the things that, like, did he cross over with his own shows? Did some of the characters from Sports Night wind up on Studio 60 and Newsroom? It seems possible. Stargate Atlantis. The Stargates are involved in this. So, I mean, yeah, we're way off topic now, but
we have fallen down the rabbit hole. Whoa, hold up. I just saw the Doctor Who thing. In the Red Dwarf episode, Sirens, the crew of the Red Dwarf come across spaceship, blah, 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 blah. Connecting, with the Wayland Utani ship, connecting it with Angel and an Eagle ship from the TV series Space 1999. But, oh my, oh.
And then imagine how many things they can connect with Hitler. It's really the power of storytelling and TV and just the imagination behind it is so incredible and so powerful. And when we kind of get to control these things more and more, that's what's exciting. This stuff would not have existed without the internet. Yeah. Let's back up to that first of all.
It's sort of like the what you told me and an old friend of mine about the Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex thing.
Oh, right.
That wouldn't have happened until without the internet.
The Larry Niven thing. Well, no, Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex was. I don't know if it was necessarily pre-internet, but it was out there. I mean, that was quoted essentially in Mallrats. That when Banky is trying to, is it Banky? Is trying to explain to Stan Lee like all the different things with superhero sexual organs and stuff. That's sort of what it's referencing. Mm-hmm. is that. But be that as it may,
Yeah.
Netflix, keep going. You know,
Yeah.
you've got some cool ideas, but we want to see them go even further.
Hmm.
At the same time, you're making some incredible content. We'll get into that a little bit.
Yes. With our next story, Netflix will stream CBS's new Star Trek series all around the world, except for
Except,
America and Canada.
yes.
Um, so basically, this answers a problem and a rant that me and Daryl both got on when they announced the new Star Trek series on for CBS as a CBS All Access exclusive. Um, because I may or may not have. Well, actually, no, I will admit I have ProXPN. I use it for personal security. I'm going to be going up north tomorrow with my grandma, and I'm taking my laptop. You better damn believe if that hotel that we stay at has Wi-Fi. I'm turning on ProXPN. It is going to say I'm from Chicago, or I'm from or I'm in New York, or I am, in London, or wherever. But it's not going to say I am in some hotel where whoever can be streaming my packets. This is not a sponsorship for ProXPN. Um, but one of the other side advantages of any VPN is if I magically appear in Canada, I can watch Canadian stuff. If I magically appear in England, I magically can have access to the English stuff. It's typically how I watch my British television shows.
Also, if you sideload Pokemon Go onto your browser, uh,
Exactly.
you can go to the different gyms and stuff around your area without having to leave your couch, which
Yeah.
is great. Turn the one aspect of this thing that's really up there cool into a no, I'm still a lazy fucker.
Which someone's already done that with a drone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And honestly, one of the things that I saw, and I haven't verified if this is real or not, is that they have made exceptions for people who are not mobile, being that they broke their leg or that
Mhm.
they are paraplegic and they still want to play the game with their friends, but they can't travel around as much. Supposedly, Nintendo has made it possible for them to be able to turn the GPS portion of it off. They'll help them with that, which is great. That's a very smart thing to do. So I hope it's true
Yeah.
because inclusion is good.
I know it works. I heard that with and we're off track from the story from the first story, but whatever. Um, it works with making the with hatching the eggs that you get because you get eggs after so much or for ever so often, and you have to go a certain distance, and then boom, the egg hatches.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw a life hack that says that you can put your phone on a turntable
yeah,
and just let it go, and it'll help you hatch your egg too.
yeah,
Again,
that's what I was referring to.
it's funny because I mean the the high selling point of this game is that it's getting people out there to exercise
I
and do
picture.
things, and it's making people somewhat social and not homebodies, and
I
that's
picked. See, here's what I picture when it finally comes into Japan, because Japan, they have the sushi restaurants where they have the conveyor belts. There are going to be people going in. There's going to be a Pokemon themed sushi restaurant like that, where it's going to be like you set your phone on there if you have to hatch an egg, and it just going to go around over until it hatches. It's going to go ding, it's done, and then you get your phone back.
yeah. I think the Pokemon themed sushi restaurant is going to be serving you things that are supposed to be cut out of Pokemon,
Exactly.
but still,
Would
um,
you like the fresh Magikarp? We caught
yeah.
it this morning.
Tasty
But no,
fish.
so back to the Netflix streaming deal, because Netflix already has the rights to all 727 episodes of Star Trek already made, including the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. Um, and those shows are going to be coming or will be available for streaming around the world, but on Netflix by the end of 2016. So within the next 4 or 5 months around the world, you're going to be able to go to Netflix to get Star Trek. Um, my question is, how does is this? So we're never going to see Star Trek on or the new Star Trek on Netflix in America, or
No, I don't know that that's necessarily the case. Here's the thing: it'll depend on how well CBS does with their app here. And if people sign up for their app, then yeah, we might never see it on Netflix. If a lot of people say screw them and don't sign up for it, then they're going to try to sell the content out to wherever they can. So, also, I just want to say, as a person who gets the advantage of a lot of these things showing up, like Pokemon Go, showing up in America first, good on you, rest of the world, for getting something cool like this, while we here have to be minorly annoyed by the fact that we might have to pay for another service.
I will also
I'm
add
pleased
that
for you.
I will also add that Netflix in Canada is getting Star Wars Episode 7 before America. So
Yeah.
take that, American privilege.
Well, yeah. I don't know how privileged we are with the RNC debates going on today. Not debates. What debate? No, fuck it. It's a ugliarchy. Anyway, so I still want to know if the show's good. I haven't seen shit about it. It's hard to say. I don't even know if the new Star Trek movie is good, although they've apparently announced that there's going to be a fourth one and they're going to go back in time, which I hope kind of that it wraps up the storyline and they just finish with that. Like they go back and they fix the thing with Kirk's father, since Chris Hemsworth is coming back for it, and then everything goes back to normal, because it feels like it needs to be wrapped up.
Yeah. So I have nowhere else to go for that. I almost had a segue, but I lost it. So the next news story is that NBC releases the Powerless Comic-Con poster with a new cast member. So the poster, which is drawn by Neil Adams, it's for the DC Universe sitcom Powerless, and the new cast member is Ron Funches, who will be joining the cast as the character Ron, an IT guy. And his character is described as a sweet, innocent guy who, unlike his coworkers, has not lost his childlike enthusiasm for all things superhero.
So
sounds
Ron
like
Funches.
Ron Funches.
Yeah. It's like, how do we insert Ron Funches into this? What kind of character we should make him be? How about the character he always is? Yeah, we like that guy. Let's do it.
Yeah.
How long before this show turns into we're going to have to do live episodes every week to see if we can up our viewership numbers?
I honestly hope not, because where I loved Undateable, I loved the fact that we had, that it was live and it was doing, different things. I don't think that this would work with everything, with every show on.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There's some really good people in this. I mean, obviously, we both love Ron. We love Alan Tudyk, who's in this, who you will be speaking of pretty soon. Love Danny Pudi, who's also going to be in this from Community. So I want this to be good. This is also a show that is, in a lot of ways, being considered DC's versions of Damage Control, which is another reference to Dwayne McDuffie. I'm just not sure on it yet.
Yeah.
Because it's another sitcom. It's another office-based sitcom. And we've kind of had our fill of those. And all they're doing is they're giving you the idea of, well, there's superheroes in this world. Yeah, but we're not seeing a lot with the superheroes. And the superheroes they're using are from Justice League Europe, which I think they were the Global Guardians before that. Crimson Fox and Jack-O-Lantern are the ones who have been announced so far. Is it compelling? I don't know. Until we actually see footage from it, there's no way to be sure. But I like all these people, but they also are all people who have been on shows that have struggled or gotten canceled really quick. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. And now the next news story is a big honking rumors dead ahead. We need a sounder, but this is all coming for leading up to San Diego Comic-Con. And I'm just gonna hit these off. The link we posted to Bleeding Cool has the bags that Warner Brothers is giving out at San Diego Comic-Con of all the different shows. But the first news or rumor is that either Kathy or Kate Kane and her alter ego Batwoman will appear on Supergirl in a recurring role.
Yeah, now they've already cast the role of Maggie Sawyer,
Mm-hmm.
which is classically she was a Superman character. She ran the Metropolis Police Department or special department that kind of dealt with the aftermath of superheroes and everything. So Maggie Sawyer has had a relationship with Kate Kane or Kathy Kane in the comics before. So the idea of introducing Batwoman doesn't seem outlandish if we're getting Maggie at the same time.
Yeah.
But it goes further.
Yes, because also with this is we are going to get Barbara Gordon, and she will be on as Oracle. And this is mostly as to not have Batwoman and Batgirl, which I don't get, to be honest. It's like one's woman, one's girl. There's and it says that Babs will have a strong friendship with Kara, Supergirl. The Oracle Batwoman relationship is being modeled after the original Chuck Dixon era Birds of Prey, but with Kathy Kate as the operative instead of Dinah.
Yeah, because on the Birds of Prey series, it was Black Canary and Huntress and Oracle. It's a little weird that they would be using Oracle, although they did make a reference in the last season of Arrow that the name was already taken, but that was also at the same time Supergirl was supposed to be in a completely different universe. So is there an Oracle that exists in the Flash Arrow universe that is going to cross over with this? Is Supergirl going to pulled into this universe? What does Flashpoint have to do with all this? What's Love got to do with it? The other thing is
this Love?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to throw one in there too.
What is Love? Maybe don't hurt me. So, because we did just have Felicity as Oracle Light for all of 3 episodes, bullshit. Oh man, I need to up my Ritalin. I just seeing kind of the same thing is okay. It's perfectly okay. But Barbara Gordon's not even Oracle in the comics anymore. So
and
why
hasn't
would
been
they?
For a while.
Hasn't been for several years, and doesn't look like she's going back to it. It looks like they're trying to create another character as Oracle in the Batgirl comics or the Batgirl in the Birds of Prey comics. So I'm not sure why they would do this. I do like the idea of Batwoman because of the fact that it would have potential relationship with Maggie Sawyer. I'm always big on having more inclusive characters on shows. Although we've had some of that on Arrow. Actually, we've had it in both genders on Arrow. We've had the Mr. Terrific character potentially, and we had Sarah's relationship with Al Ghul's daughter, whose name I can't remember.
Talia. No, Nessa.
Nessa, right. But still, great, and potentially more characters from the Bat universe while we're still not exactly having Batman, but we are getting a Superman. So it's like, one, I'm kind of wondering who these characters coming in to replace.
Yeah.
Because if we're getting Oracle, now Oracle doesn't necessarily have to be teamed up with Kara. She could be the antithesis character to Winn and have them kind of compete with each other. It'd be nice for Winn to have someone to be competitive with and flirty with at the same time when he finds out who she is. But we still don't know the details of who's coming back to Supergirl at this point. Like if any cast members have left. Is Cat Grant still in the show? We know that we're getting a version of Snapper Carr with Enriqueo, I can't remember his last name, from Cougar Town. He's supposed to be on there. So I'll have to see. But as far as the choices, it's different having Batgirl, or not the Batgirl, having Batwoman and Supergirl together is sort of like a Earth One version of Huntress Power Girl.
Mm-hmm.
So that is cool. And again, like a gender bent version of Batman and Superman.
Now, the interesting thing here for me is it's also tied in with this next rumor, because Batman himself is still tied in with over with being over at with Gotham over at Fox. And as it says here, Fox has been approached to share the character for a fee. It would likely only be economically feasible if an actor playing Bruce Wayne and Batman were made a series regular across the whole network to defer the licensing costs to Fox. And it goes on to say that Fox obtained the Batman and Gotham TV rights as part of a deal that included giving Warner Brothers the go-ahead to release Batman 66 on DVD. And even if Gotham were to end, they would retain rights as long as the DVDs were being sold.
Which is so weird to me. That is like
Yes.
such a, how do you make that deal? Now I love the Batman TV series from the 60s. That was not my entry point into comic books, but it was certainly one of the things that I watched a lot as a kid because of my love of comics and those characters, and because Yvonne Craig is a goddess. But like when we know about these deals of the perpetuity of things, like DC has the perpetuity of Watchmen. As long as Watchmen's in print, they never have to give up the rights and give it back to Alan Moore. Yeah, dick move, but they should know that this perpetuity thing is crap. That's what happened with Marvel and Sony with the rights to Spider-Man. It's like they'll never get the rights back for Spider-Man because they'll just constantly make Spider-Man movies. Fox will keep doing it with the Fantastic Four no matter how badly they fuck it up, and X-Men. So why would you make this deal to give Batman rights to Fox?
And my wondering is, how deep do the rights go? Is it just Batman? Like just the Batman Bruce Wayne character? Because that earlier rumor, and I'm treating all these like rumors, with the exception, I think you said that there is casting of, oh no, there's casting of the love interest for Batwoman.
Yeah, no casting of Batwoman yet, but Maggie Sawyer has been announced.
Yeah.
On the show.
So how far does this casting go, or does this licensing go? Is it just Bruce Wayne? Is it all of Gotham City? So, the whole Bat family, or is it the main Bat family with the pillars going out? They could come in.
Well, I mean, is it Batman? Because it's certainly Bruce Wayne as a kid, but I don't know. I still can't figure out the selling point of the show of like, hey, we've got the license to
I'm not talking
Batman.
about the selling point of the show.
Well,
I'm
no,
talking
but
about
that's what I'm
the
saying.
licensing is.
But to make the show that they did, it seemed like, okay, well, they got to make this show because they couldn't make a Batman show. But if they could have made a Batman show, if that's what it actually, if they have that ability, why wouldn't they have?
Yeah.
That's the thing that kind of weirds me out, is like, oh, we're going to make a show that's all of Batman's extraneous characters, but no Batman. Well, why? I can't figure out Gotham. I mean, other than the fact that it's just batshit crazy, which is what they should have called it. They have no care of keeping the characters on track, but they're sort of creating a Batman universe that ruins it for Batman down the road, and Batman's still 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But this deal makes it sound like
Ivy magically ages.
Right, exactly. But this deal makes it sound like they could have made a Batman TV series. They could have made and can continue to make Batman for as long as they want, as long as they keep selling these DVDs of Batman 66, a 3-season show from the 60s that, yes, was beloved and had probably the coolest Batmobile of all time, and some of the best costuming of all time.
With the Ford Futura prototype.
And Adam fucking West.
Yes.
But I don't know that it's worth this. I don't know that it's worth it. Well, we have all these other superhero shows, but we can't use Batman on them unless we pay you money to use our own character. That blows my mind, man.
Yeah.
That is just insanity. That is something that the writers of Gotham would come up with because it's that fucking crazy.
The next rumor, because yes, it is just that crazy. The next rumor is that John Wesley Shipp, the original actor to play the Flash, will be the third actor who will become a series regular across the whole CW/DC universe after Wentworth Miller and John Barrowman. He will obviously be playing Jay Garrick, not Henry Allen. The other bit is that Matt Ryan could get a similar deal as the network is testing the streaming audience of Constantine. Seeing how well that does over on CW Seed, and as well as his appearance on the network for this upcoming season. Because there is a supernatural, wink wink pun intended there, I guess, hole being left with the Vampire Diaries ending after this season, and basically the network wants to keep its Fridays as their horror night. So you could get a Constantine-led series with Supernatural airing afterwards, which gets as I say here, which gets decent ratings, with in whatever time slot it is moved to. iZombie could also be a choice to throw in there before, so you get iZombie at 8 and then Supernatural at 9. That part right there it makes sense, and it would be, and if that were the case for next in 2017, we would have a DC TV show every weeknight.
Yeah. And here's the other thing is that I would like to see Constantine happen as a show on the network that has Supernatural, so that maybe it doesn't feel like also Supernatural. I'd like to see the writers try to do something different with it and with the character to make it feel less derivative of this other show that is already really popular and did a lot better in the ratings. I like the idea of these actors / characters being cast for not a single show, but for multiple shows, because that is sort of the beauty of these comic universes. And why wouldn't you do that when it comes to the filmmaking? That's what they did with Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson wasn't created as Nick Fury for one movie or for one role. It's to play it over multiple films.
Mm-hmm.
And that's smart to do that for what are now currently 4 shows and the Vixen cartoon series, which I think still happens from time to time, and there's potential for more of that as well. Yeah, spread the love. And it keeps these people paid as full-time actors without having to make them full-time to one series. So John Barrowman was recently given the same contract thing like Wentworth Miller has. And so we would not have to have another season of him being strictly on Arrow and wondering, why the fuck hasn't Ollie killed this guy yet? How much more can we chop off of him before he's just gone for good?
I'm not dead yet.
Be giving him a place to be on these other programs makes it a little bit more believable, and we get more John Barrowman, who is great. I'm totally happy to see more of him. I'm just kind of concerned about the sanity of the hero that keeps letting him do this shit and doesn't do anything about it.
But he's my sister's dad.
Yeah,
I don't know why I made Oliver like Nick Cage.
Because that's how they write him. They write Oliver Queen as Nicolas Cage at this point. It's that fucked up. I love Stephen Amell. I think he is a wonderful person, and he was an excellent get for DC/CW because he's just a great guy. But they're not doing him any favors with the way they're writing that show.
Yeah. I think that's about it for that. So let's nerd out, Corey, shall we?
Let's nerd.
Okay. So I'm gonna go first because why not? I'm captaining this ship. And I want to talk about Con Man. Well, sorry, I just realized captaining the ship, Con Man. Haha, it all works. So Con Man is it was kickstarted last year, 2 years ago. And it's a web series created by Alan Tudyk. Made and created, same word, I realize that now. or same meaning. And it's basically Alan Tudyk's character as he goes around from or being the it's like I would say it's like loosely based on his life outside of or after Firefly, because you have a character who it was the follow me on this premise here, folks. He was the pilot of a spaceship on a TV show that lasted for one season and then got unceremoniously canceled. Does that sound like anything else that happened? I don't think so. I think it's a completely original idea.
Minority Report.
Yes, exactly. um, but it has this it's really cool because you don't really see too much, and it is web video length, so they're all 7 to 11 minute or I think 7 to 17. Like I don't think there's any that are over 20-minute episodes that are over 20 minutes long. And the cast is freaking awesome. You have basically all of Team Unicorn. Who one of them, Riley Miller, I think is her name. I think can't think of her last name, but she's on Comic Con HQ as well for on the show Blame It on Science. But you have all these cameos and people coming in. You got Nathan Fillion, who's in there as a recurring character. I don't want to say he's a series regular on here because he doesn't show up frequently enough. Mindy Sterling is in here, freaking hysterical. You get cameos by the cast of Firefly or everyone from Firefly, with the exception of the actor who played the preacher and Adam Baldwin. And their cameos are freaking hilarious. The show, which is 13 episodes, I believe. I'm gonna double check that here actually. It's really cool. It's going. They're done in like mini arcs, like a comic book. Like it's done like 3 episodes, one story, like wrapped up, or basically one convention wrapped up. And then on to the next one. There's 14 episodes, and it's just freaking brilliant. Allison Hayslip is in here. She's awesome in the show. She plays Nathan Fillion's character's assistant named Faith. You get Henry Rollins is in here. Oh my gosh. I could not I didn't think Henry Rollins could be funny while being serious, but
Henry
he
Rollins is
is.
like the king of that. What are you talking about?
But I didn't think it would work that great. Because they talk about he plays essentially the Jane character from Firefly in the show Spectrum, which is the show that Ray Nearly, who's Alan Tudyk's character, basically is conventioning around with. But he he goes, he gets outed, and that's all they talk about. It's like, is I can't think of Henry Rollins' character's name, but is he going to be there? Yeah. Oh man, he hates me ever since I outed him. And you don't know. You're figuring, that he outed him as being gay. No, outed him for being a Republican in Hollywood.
I wonder if that's an in joke about Adam Baldwin.
I think it is actually.
Not that Adam Baldwin didn't out himself on that, but
no, yeah, but it's really funny. Like they throw in there. They even throw in the line of him he's wearing like military like surplus uniform. He peels off his cap like no one's able to give me a haircut, and just poosh, like almost like Kid and Play-esque hair coming off the top of his head. But again, the show is really incredibly funny. Milo Ventimiglia, Nolan North are both in there. Their little arc that they have is great. You see Alan Tudyk and actually all three of them show their range as voiceover artists. Which also backfires. Michael Dorn is in here, And I see why everyone's like, yeah, Michael Dorn should be able to do his Captain Worf show because he still looks really young
Black
for
don't crack.
yeah. But no, yeah, check it out. It is on comicconhq.com, comic-conhq.com.
Which I am, of course, a huge fan of.
Yes. Yes, if you watched last week, you'll know that he is a huge ginormous fan of it.
Good
Um
riddling.
but no, yeah, so check it out. Check it out while you can because it's still free for I believe until the 24th. And then it's either $5 a month or $50 a year. So Corey, you've been watching some Stranger Things.
Yeah. So I kind of had a wealth of things that I could have talked about and things that I kind of planned on. One night this week we watched The Big Short, which sent my wife into a hate spiral about the financial system in this country and our government in general. So the next night I tried to calm her down. I have to keep my real into myself. So I put on the Minions movie, and I thought, okay, well, I'll be able to talk about that. And then Saturday we went to see The Secret Life Pets. I'm like, oh, I could probably talk about that in relation to the Minions because they're both from the same company. And then I remembered that this show was coming out on Netflix, another Netflix original, and it's called Stranger Things. And it looked a little bit like when Super 8 was coming out, like what we expected and what we wanted from Super 8. And I gotta tell you, I know that I watched Super 8. I can't remember a fucking thing about it at this point. But Stranger Things stuck with me. And I put it on at about 8 o'clock on Saturday night. And I wound up not going to bed until 4 in the morning because I couldn't stop watching it until I was done. So it takes place in 1986. It starts out with these 4 kids who are all friends. They're playing D&D in the basement of one of their houses. And then 3 of the kids go home. It's night. They've been playing for 10 hours. It's a school night. They ride their bikes home, and one of the kids disappears. And the next day, the mother's looking for him. Nobody can figure out where he went. The police are a little hesitant first because they think that nothing like this ever happens in our town. But they find his bike and they realize that something's actually wrong. At the same time that the kid disappears, the friends who are out looking for him on their own find a girl that is lost in the woods. And they realize that whatever's going on, she may have a part in. So they bring her back to the house and they kind of take her in, but they're keeping her secret from their parents. And things just kind of go crazy. So this is a mix of, I'm seeing a lot of people compare it to Twin Peaks because there's a heavy dose of mystery to it. There is certainly a amount of Goonies or those kinds of things where the kids are the main characters, but it doesn't just follow the children. It follows the town sheriff. It follows, of course, the mother and then the older brother of the boy who disappears. The mother's played by Winona Ryder. The sister of the main kid who is the DM of their game. It follows her as she is dating her first real love at school, but her friend winds up disappearing as well. And it follows Matthew Modine as Dr. Martin Brenner, who is just, Matthew Modine's always kind of struck me as a creep. And this is the perfect role for him to be in because he is a creep in this. But the girl that they find has got a tattoo in her arm and it says 11, and that is her name. And so they wind up calling her Elle, and they lead her around, and she leads them around, and she shows special abilities and basically is using those abilities to help them both try to find their friend and keep away from quote unquote the bad guys. which are from the facility that she had escaped from at the beginning of this. So there's some Akira to this as well. There's a lot of different genres that mix really well in this. The music, especially over the opening credits, but just in the background as well, reminded me of Disaster Piece so much. I thought it was him that did the soundtrack because it was very evocative of what you heard in It Follows, that kind of like 80s synth but dark sound. The credits look like the opening of Halloween 3, if you know classic horror. But there's a lot of things in here that are throwbacks to horror movies, sci-fi, a little bit of Silent Hill, all great things that kind of work really well together in this story. And it's only 8 episodes, so it's an 8-hour commitment, but it goes pretty fast and it just keeps pulling you forward and it never loses track of what it's doing. You think at some points like, oh, you know, they're introducing this character and I've got to follow this character around, but I really want to get back to the main story with the kids. And the way that they tie it all together, everything matters. Everybody's important and it all works incredibly well when it comes to its finish. And it does finish. It's not one of those series, and this is something that I think people need to understand, is that it does get to an end point. And I kind of wonder if the second season, which they haven't announced or anything, but I expect it'll do well enough to get one, if the second season will be more of these characters, or to me, more likely, it will be another story. It will be different characters, and that will be what it is. I see this more of an anthology series like American Horror Story or Scream Queens, that kind of stuff, instead of we're going to continue with these people. But it does leave you things at the end that are not resolved. It does leave you with things that they could continue with. So it's a matter of, do they pick up where they left off? Do they pick up years down the road and we see effects of this later? Or do they just do something else entirely? It's a great amount of mystery on a show that already focused on a great mystery. I really love this series. And I highly recommend it. And it just shows that Netflix has been knocking it out of the park. I was not really familiar with the creators on this. It's written by and directed by the Duffer Brothers, who I didn't have a lot of familiarity with, but I'm certainly going to seek out more of their stuff now. There were only 2 episodes that weren't written or directed by them. They did do work on Wayward Pines, which just kills me because I did not enjoy that show. But this shows that they were better than what I was seeing there. It's just so good, and it does some absolutely nerdy things, like when the kids are playing D&D, of course, and when they're racing their bikes back home, one of the kids tells the one who winds up disappearing, like, if you beat me, you can, whoever wins gets a choice of each other's comic book, whatever comic you want. And the kid's like, I want your X-Men 136, which is, of course, the introduction of Jean Grey as the Phoenix persona. So, I mean, the kid's like, holy shit. By the way, the kids in this are amazing. There's this one character, Dustin, one of the kids, played by Gaten Matarazzo. He is just so perfect. Like, I can't imagine him not being this child from the middle 80s. He's just got this great sense of that time to him. And the way that he talks, and he's got a little bit of a lisp. He's got some sort of condition where his baby teeth haven't come out yet. And so he's not growing any adult teeth, and it makes him kind of stand out to the bullies. But he's just so great in this, and they all are just so excellent. It's an impeccable cast and a lot of really young actors. I mean, other than the 2 adult actors, a lot of these people haven't been in a lot of stuff. They're young. The young sister, she's the older sister to the kids, but she's an actress. She's only 19, and she's apparently been acting since she was 12. But again, not a lot of like people that you've heard a ton about. But these people are all going to get a lot of attention after this series. And this is one of those things that everybody was watching over the weekend, and I kept seeing article after article of you need to be watching Stranger Things. And so I'm not telling you anything that you probably haven't already heard, but I'm just reinforcing it. It's incredible.
Yeah. So I'm treading into this territory for our discussion topic very, very carefully because one of the other things I watched this week was the ultimate edition of Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice.
You son of a bitch.
um, and so I watched it, mainly because one of the things I had heard is that a lot of the people who bashed Batman versus Superman, when they saw the Ultimate Edition, they sort of backtracked a little bit on some of the things they said. So I'm like, okay, let's watch this one. I didn't sully myself by watching the theatrical cut, and this is where everyone's going to think, oh, there's going to be a rant by Corey. May well be true, but there's the opening act is a rant by me. Why do we have to have a theatrical cut and a Ultimate Edition cut or a director's cut for this movie? Especially when I will have in our show notes a link to the Collider.com article which explains in detail what's in the Ultimate Edition that's been added. One of the things is they give a name to the cameraman who died when Lois was over in Africa and the big tragedy thing happened. And it was Jimmy Olsen. A little bit of a bullshit move. Because Jimmy Olsen, he died. Wait, what? But he was Superman's best friend in the comics. Oh, no one cares about that.
Yeah, no, I believe the statement that was made by Snyder about it was, oh, I thought I'd throw it in there for the fans and stuff, just because how cool would it be to use this character. You don't understand what fucking cool is, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You don't understand what's cool to the fans of like, hey, here's this character that is a big part of the Superman mythos, and I'm just gonna fucking wipe my ass with it because you guys like him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's cool because how could he be? He's in a Superman comic.
And the other part is that in that scene, in the Africa, I don't know what you'd call it, the Africa murder scene. You have the KG Beast is the character that is just killing everyone to make it look like Superman did it, and all that. You see that more as opposed to having things being implied that it was Superman that did it.
Now, does it make it look like Superman could have done it, or is it more all these people were shot, but it must have been Superman? Because that was a big problem I had.
It looked like with how it was shot, you see this dude and you don't know he's KG Beast. You only know he's KG Beast if you read that, oh hey, it's KG Beast. There's this dude and his group of people who come in, shoot everyone else. The only time you see Superman is when the head of this African dictator tribe thing has Lois Lane,
which is in the non-extended cut.
Yeah, which is in there, that part, and he comes in and takes the guy out. Sort of deal. And so it's supposed to allude to the fact that Superman did it, but I think that goes a little bit with in the later scenes. I mean, we just talked about that the Jimmy Olsen dying thing was just bullshit. I mean, we're gonna have a cameraman. Oh, it's gonna be Jimmy Olsen. What the fuck? Sort of deal. But you have the but then it's explained more with, and I don't know if this is in the original or the theatrical cut, but with the group that has the Superman patches on Batman or that attack Batman. I think it's the same group. So like that helps to further implicate it, but that's still later on in the movie, which is a stupid thing. It's like, wait, why does this got to be later on in the movie?
So Batman's still not a detective. He's just taking things at face value and just rolling with that.
Yes. One thing I will say is actually it's not so much that Batman's not a detective, which he's not really a detective in this one, which I blame more on Zack Snyder writing this and less on and not really on Ben Affleck.
Oh yeah, I have no problems with Ben Affleck in
No,
the role at
yeah.
all. I want to be clear on that. There's a lot of me shitting on this movie, which is in a past episode, so I'm going to try to reel it in on this. My problem has not been with the cast, even in Man of Steel. Same
Hmm.
thing. It was not with the cast at all. It was with the story that they decided to tell using these characters and the actors, and in some ways, like Beatmaster, one of our producers, and I have gone on this before, is visually they're very good films. To sit and watch them. I'm not a huge fan of how he does his fight scenes of like a person standing still and then all of a sudden they charge at the screen, but it doesn't look like they move at all. It just looks like it's kind of a reverse zoom, like they're still in one place and everything zooms backwards behind them. There's a scene with Wonder Woman in this where she does that, and that's straight out of his stuff with 300 and the Sucker Punch stuff. His fight stuff all looks the same to me at this point. It's no longer visually interesting. Watchmen, the same thing. It's like, okay, I get it. We understand your shtick now, but it's not like they're not visually pretty to look at or interesting to look at. Gray, but overall, still like there's coolness to it. I get the coolness to it. I just hate the way that they treat the characters, and I didn't think the story was strong in this movie, which in some ways maybe is improved upon by this cut. Although, as I understand it, it still figures into, well, to explain why Batman and Superman suddenly are friends, it's because our moms have the same first name.
Yeah. Yeah, that part
And that's just like, that is the
that's so
dumbest
it
fucking thing to hinge out your character's shift in roles.
did they have okay, in the theatrical version, did they have um did Batman come across a little bit more like he's still after, 20, 30, 40 years after his parents' murder, like he's still dealing with it? Still
Yeah,
dealing
I
with
mean,
having flashbacks to
and I'm not gonna lie and say that it's much different from the comics because that is a problem with the comics that they've harped that
yeah.
enough. And yes, thank you for showing us the death of Bruce's parents again because we needed that one more time in just the
The
number of
only
years.
the only thing I'm gonna give to that to the death or well, two things. To the death of Bruce's parents is the fact that it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan, it's
I
Negan,
li- I like Jeffrey
and
Dean
then
Morgan, and
yeah.
I of course like the actress who played his mom too.
No, yeah.
But totally unnecessary scene, other than the fact that it's supposed to establish I really miss my mommy. Her name is
Yeah.
Martha. Your mom's name is Martha too? Besties!
Yeah, exactly. But you got that, and then I liked the cinematic of the gun going around, being around the necklace. I like that as a um. Sorry, beat in the slack. The comedian dies again in the credits.
Hmm.
Um, but I like the that scene right there where you have the gun pull back and it breaks the necklace. That looked cinematically good.
Yeah, cinematically pleasing, although violence
Yeah.
against women is not necessarily my.
No.
That's not the point. I'm looking at the screen going, "Oh, what a great shot this is!" Ha. But I get it. Yeah. Again, he has a flair for drama in the way that he visually does things, but his cause for action is just way out of whack with what I would want from a superhero movie. Certainly from movies about these particular superheroes.
One of the things I love about it that's in the Collider article is Jon Stewart makes an appearance! Exclamation mark. The Daily Show host, not the Green Lantern.
Right.
Yes. Um, but and then there's another one that it was added, and this is Lois uncovering Lex Luthor's plans during or by using Wally, as she was going through his apartment and realized he bought groceries. It's these little things. Honestly, from reading these and from seeing this, it makes more sense to me. Like I still I still don't consider the movie to be good. You know, out of the two big movies that came out this year, in the superhero world that had the heroes fighting each other, Captain America: Civil War, Batman versus Superman. Sorry for bumping the mic. Captain America: Civil War was a better movie over all of it because one, it didn't need an ultimate cut. It didn't need anything else added to it for it to be good. And they're almost the same movie.
There's a lot of similarities, and there were definitely aspects of Captain America: Civil War that were not my favorite. You know, and I've said before that it's not even my favorite Captain America movie. But there was also a lot of fun in it. There was a lot of things that worked, and emotionally, you felt like the choices that were made. Yes, obviously, you had to take Tony Stark to a point where he was very upset about the death of his mom. But the path that it showed to get him there at least made sense. It may not have been perfect storytelling, but it made sense, the choices that were made and the decisions he made. And yeah, he went over the top. And at the end, you know, you can also see that he realized that he went over the top. He realized that he did things wrong. Towards the end, before we even get to the full climax of it, you can see that he's already deciding that. But he is emotionally distraught, and that had the advantage of having that built in already with previous films. So yes, the story that they're trying to tell in this doesn't have the advantage of previous films to draw on in the same way that Civil War did. And I always want to point that out. It's like DC's current cinematic universe, 2 movies versus Marvel's up-teen. You know, sure. But you kind of knew that as the people making the movie. And if you couldn't find a way to compensate for that, then maybe this wasn't the best story to do.
No, it didn't feel like the best story to do for this, for introduction of Batman, of Superman, of Wonder, well, deepening, adding depth to Superman with the Ultimate Edition, anyways. Um, of Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman, which I loved those little things where you cut to, like, it's one woman looking at the footage of Aquaman, of Cyborg,
You love
and
that,
Flash.
though? Because I'm
Yeah,
looking at that, I'm like, so what we're getting from this is just like, okay, here's people that we don't get anything about who they are in this, other than the fact that Luther's somehow got cameras that are following them around
it's
everywhere.
well,
And I mean, now I do understand that some of that's talked about in the extended version because it involves him having some sort of information led to him from Steppenwolf.
yeah,
Uh, but still, in the final cut, I'm looking at this and I'm like, so you got some camera on Aquaman, and he looks at it all pissed off and goes away. But all this information does nothing for the film.
it's that part right there. The 3 characters that it shows, it's more of an Easter egg thing.
Which, but
It
that's
it
not even Easter.
has,
An Easter egg is something that you discover for yourself.
well,
An Easter egg is something that's in the background and it's like, oh, there's Captain America's shield sitting on Tony's table in the background in Iron Man, or oh, I recognize that Infinity Gem and stuff. Easter eggs are something that are your reward for paying attention. These are things that are in your face of like, hey, we've got more movies coming out.
yeah,
Check out this guy without a shirt. Doesn't he look cut? The scene of the Flash coming and talking to Bruce, which was almost straight out of Crisis on Infinite Earths,
yeah.
was a foreshadowing, sorry. And that almost works, other than the fact that the conversation is so choppy that it gives Bruce more reason to suspect Clark without really being any reason to at all. And It's like those scenes in sitcoms where two people are having a conversation in one room and somebody comes up to the room, overhears them, hears just a snippet of the conversation, takes it completely out of context, and it causes havoc in the relationship for the next 20 minutes.
So an episode of Big Brother.
Big Brother? No, I'm thinking Friends, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, all those things. Like you start to walk in Three's Company. It's such an old trope of like, oh, well, this person said this shit. Yeah, but you didn't listen to the whole conversation. It had nothing to do with what you think it did. You just jumped to conclusions. And that's exactly what this was. Flash shows up for a reason we don't find out in the movie, says something to Batman that is then taken out of context because we never get a context for it, and it just furthers him along this destructive path that he has, but that he shouldn't even be on. That, again, Batman, non-detective. I don't appreciate a film that makes Batman stupid. That's a problem that I had with Dark Knight Rises. Is you took an intelligent character who was smart, who thought things through, who planned and did all this stuff, who was at least in the first movie had the excuse of being brand new at this, but had the drive and compulsion to go and get better and be smarter than his enemies. And then you just threw that shit out the window by having him make dumb decision after dumb decision after dumb decision. And this is how we're introduced to him in this new movie. His entire reason for being is a vengeance act because his mom and dad were killed, which is also the only thing that snaps him out of being a dumb fuck because her name is mentioned. And this whole process is I'm Batman in name and costume only.
Yeah.
Everything I'm doing is so anti-Batman because Zack Snyder and whoever wrote this shit with him, I'm assuming David Goyer, don't fundamentally get the characters of Batman or Superman. I'm hoping to God he doesn't somehow fuck up Wonder Woman, but I don't have a lot of faith based off of his involvement before. What?
I don't think he's involved in Wonder Woman.
He's involved. He's not in charge, but he's involved. And that's still a problem to me. And the Justice League movie is still potentially a big problem, other than the fact that I think they're looking at him with a lot more scrutiny now.
The other thing I didn't like is the creation of Doomsday and the because honestly for a lot of these sequences, and I agree, I think you said it or someone else said it during after reviewing the theatrical cut, is it does seem like it's a lot of vignettes. Like it's these little segments that they tie together very loosely without any real rhyme or reason. But I didn't like how they introduced Doomsday, because that's not Doomsday. Much like this is hashtag not my Batman, hashtag not my Superman. With how they're being written here, it's like, wait, so Doomsday is going to be General Zod, or is General Zod? So are you telling me that Apocalypse is also going to be General Zod? Because apparently everyone's just General Zod here as a villain, it seems like.
I mean, I have an appreciation for Michael Shannon after seeing him do REM on the lip sync battle, and also realizing that he was in Groundhog's Day. He's a weird dude, but I kind of really like him now. So I have no fault with giving the guy more work, but
do it as General Zod.
Well, yeah, and I know I talked about this on the episode where we talked about the movie before. Is conceptually the Kryptonian technology just somehow accepts Lex Luthor making this happen. Like, hey, I just dragged a body into you, and I know that I conned my way in here using technology that seems really earthen for you being a super advanced alien race and shit, but you know that it's me, and you're telling me, hey, this is probably a bad idea. Yeah, we're going to do it, though, right? Yeah, fuck it. Balls to the wall, man. Go for it, Lex. Pimp out. Just, like, bad, stupid decisions happen because the writers needed them to happen.
Yeah.
And that's that's to me, that's bad story. That's bad storytelling, and that's why it's a bad movie. And it doesn't sound like my real problems with it have been addressed, but I am also very much in the camp of it was going to be bad. I just had no expectation that it was going to win me over after my reaction to Man of Steel. And that may not be fair, but that's my review, and many people get to make their own choices.
Yeah, all in all, I would say if you could rent it on iTunes or Google Play, which I know you can't on Google Play, I don't know about iTunes, I would say rent it to watch it, but I don't think I would buy it.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I have the option of watching it, and I can't say I have the desire to.
yeah.
The whole idea would be to somehow, it's Stockholm syndrome.
Hmm.
It's like, what's going to make this better? It's like, what's going to make my boyfriend stop punching me? I know he loves me. He just hits me because I don't listen. That's what I feel like watching a Zack Snyder movie it's self abuse at a point of like
And
you're letting this happen. You're perpetuating the cycle because you keep watching. It's like watching a shitty movie to the end, and you sit there at the end of the movie and you watch it in the credits, and you're like, why the fuck did I keep watching this? It was shitty in the first 5 minutes, and yet I just couldn't stop myself. And to go back in and watch a movie that I know I don't like and rewatch it, that's why I wouldn't go to the theater and see it.
hmm
It's hard for me to not go see a movie starring Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. I mean, it's really hard for me as a fan of these characters my entire life, and wanting to see them succeed, and hoping somehow that it's going to be okay. But I knew it wasn't going to be okay. And it's one thing to sit there and take people who do reviews at their words, and some people definitely just wanted to shit on the movie. And I worry that that might be me, that I just wanted it to not succeed. But I know that's not true. I want the movie to be good. I want all of these DC movies to be good because
hmm
I'm a DC guy. And I'm just also a person who enjoys good movies. But it was very clear that for the movie I want to see with these characters, this was not going to be it. And I don't think that any extra footage can fix it.
No.
Just like this movie was supposed to fix Man of Steel, and in no way addressed or improved on what Man of Steel already was.
I think what we have to look forward to is the fact that Suicide Squad is going to use the characters, but none of the story that's
Yeah,
been featured
Suicide
in
Squad
there.
looks fun.
Yeah, Suicide Squad looks good. From everything I've seen from Wonder Woman, it looks like it's going to be good. But I think the big takeaway is the fact that they have Jeff Johns and the other guy who I cannot think of his name as the heads of basically the Kevin Feige's of the DC Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, but again, I reference the fact that Jeff Johns was a big hand with Greg Berlanti on Green Lantern, and so it's not
And,
like these guys are
and guess what?
infallible.
Well, no, hold on, because according to that logic, Taika Waititi was in there, so Thor Ragnarok must be bad too.
Was Thor Ragnarok out yet?
No,
Do we know if it's
will
good?
be will
It's
be bad.
potentially, yeah. I'm just saying, you can't just say that this person's going to be a part of it and then it's going to be better.
It's
People
with
can
what
fuck up. People
yeah,
fuck up all the time. I do it. Hey, welcome to my week.
what I'm saying is Zack Snyder does great cinematography. His stuff looks visually stunning.
And if they dropped his role down to cinematographer, I
Yeah,
might feel a little bit more secure. I mean,
but
it certainly seems like they've dropped down his storytelling aspect. His writer portion of it is gone away, and it seems like the direction they're going in for more of the film seems to be leading away from what his vision was of these characters
mhm.
initially. And I don't want to just shit on the guy and say, yeah, now fucking go off in the distance and ride in the sunset, asshole. No, because there's certainly a market for his films, and he certainly has talents, and I'd like to see him improve, but he kind of needs to get out of his ego.
Yeah.
He's in the Michael Bay zone. of like, I'm fucking awesome, and maybe you're not quite as awesome as you think you are, and maybe you should take a step back and work with people who will help you improve on the parts that you're lacking
Hmm.
and hone in on the things that you're good at. And maybe that will happen.
And
I
that's
am hopeful
and
still
that's where I
somehow.
get, yeah, and that's where I'm getting at with Jeff Johns and the other dude who I cannot think of, because Jeff Johns, being the head of the comics division, having this years of knowledge writing a lot of the material that you can base stories off of.
But it depends on how much they're forced to listen to him.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it being good. At the very least, what I see with him is he's going to be like he's going to have this wherewithal, or he's going to have this ability where if he sees he's the dude on the Titanic that or on a ship that sees iceberg or is just scanning the horizon for land or icebergs, and if he sees
I'll,
the iceberg coming, he can tell them turn left, sort of deal.
and nobody turn left. I will go in a different analogy, and I will say, uh, I really like Colin Powell. I have a lot of respect for Colin Powell. I would have voted for Colin Powell as president probably, but he was in a cabinet under George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, and a bunch of people, and all of my respect for Colin Powell is still there, but nobody was listening
Mm-hmm.
to Colin Powell. So you can be the greatest guy in the world, but if you're surrounded by shitheads, at the end of the day, you're drowning in shit.
Well, on that note, we should probably mention that this is the time where we plug the Patreon and all the other things to support. Actually, I'm going to shy away from the Patreon because, and instead I'm going to throw you to the Amazon part. Basically, if you go to jancast.com/support, you can of course support the Patreon, monthly Patreon. It's monthly charge, beginning of the month. You can do as little as you want. You can do $1 a month. You can do $5. You can do $10, whatever you want. It's a monthly charge.
You can up my Ritalin prescription.
Yes.
Uh,
But the other one, and this one's the cool one because you probably shop on Amazon. You get your whatever you want. I got these headphones off of Amazon. I got these headphones off of Amazon. These ones right here. I got my book one of Preacher off of Amazon.
I was going to say, you get a lot of headphones.
Well, I'm trying to find the perfect pair of Bluetooth headphones. And right now the winner is these ones, which is off topic, but these ones I don't like because they're over the ear. It wraps around your ear. The close second is these ones right here, which I got from Walmart, but the problem is this big fucking dongle thing that they attach to it that is just completely stupid. But anyways, so if you're going to be going to Amazon and doing your shopping, go through gncast.com/support, because then anything you buy after you click on the Amazon affiliate link there, anything you buy, 3% of that goes to Dave. Goes to Dave to help him keep the ship afloat with Galactic Netcasts, which is really, really cool. I mean,
Yeah,
3% of book one for Preacher went to Dave.
3% of anything you buy, which does not affect the cost to you at all. It's just all you're doing is clicking a link before you do your regular shopping, and I think that it's important to think about it that way. Is the only skin off your teeth is that extra click. Eventually you'll get a little more arthritis in your ring finger. It's okay. You can masturbate with the other hand. I do. The other thing, and probably just as important for our network, is going to GNcast/subscribe, and you can find out about all our other shows. And if you go there, you can also sign up for our newsletter, and that gives us a direct connection with you. That allows you to join our Slack chat. That allows you to sign up for our newsletter, and it's just our newsletter. We don't sign you up for any other things. It's not advertising that you're going to get. It's just information from us, and it allows us to find out from you directly what we can do to make the shows better, what we can do to make the network better, and what directions we'll go in the future to make new shows that you want to see or watch, or in some cases even be involved in. That happens. You'd be surprised. So all those places, you can go to gncast.com. There's multiple links there. There's multiple shows there. There's multiple people there, and you like multiple partners. Like I said, so do I. Two
Corey's
hands.
polyamorous.
I'm nega amorous.
But yeah, and if you want to leave us feedback, which I recommend, comment on the video. You can send us a link on Twitter. We're at the show's at ElseNerds, the network's at Galactic Netcasts, Beatmaster's at Beatmaster80, Evan's at Mr_Fusion. I'm at that Gregor. Corey's at Don't Ask Comics. But you can also email us if you want to do a little bit old school way. Mail at ElseNerds.com. That goes right to our inbox. I usually get it before or after work if I'm working, or when I'm on this computer, because hey, it pops up going, ding, we got mail. Usually from things that myself and Corey have signed us up through the email. Or you can call us, leave us a voicemail at 805-328-3966.
Even older school.
Yes, even older school. Or you can do the telegraph. Just I don't know how the telegraph works. Just
ElseNerds are assholes. Story 11.
Yeah. But yeah, all that stuff is out there, and we appreciate it.
It's out there, and
yeah.
we're in here looking for you, trying to find a way out. It's like the Phantom Zone, which is in a much better Superman movie.
Cue editing and me on a pane of glass ordeal. But yeah, so this has been a Don't Tell Glenn production. We will see you guys next time.
Or else.